Hello and welcome to this webinar about photo editing techniques in Corel PHOTO-PAINT, which is part of the CorelDRAW Graphics Suite X7. This is a photograph of myself. I look kind of shabby, rugged, whatever word you think is suitable for this. I thought it was perfect to take this photograph because I had a long week of work. It was a lot of stress, and when the week came to the end, I took a bicycle tour, came back home, was extra tired of course, and I washed my face, took my wet hands through my hair, and I got splashes of water on my t-shirt. And this is actually a perfect picture to show you how we can improve a picture like this. And I want to start by saying that the first thing that I do when I'm going to do a job like this is to do a quick analyze of what has to be done in a photograph like this. For example, if we look closer here, we'll see that there are water stains on the t-shirt, and we have to do something about that pretty quick, I think. And then the other thing we have to do is to do something about the white splashes here, well, the white reflections, which is actually water. But let's not say everything I'm going to do with the picture. Just let's start with the work, and the first thing we're going to do is to use the clone tool. So what we do is to first duplicate the background object. We'll zoom in close to the t-shirt, and now we have that selected. We'll collapse that object occurs a little bit, and then go to the clone tool. In PHOTO-PAINT X7, Corel remade the user interface in many ways, and one of them was the brush category selector. And with the clone tool, you'll see there's a lot of different clone tool and nibs assigned to each of those. So I'll pick a clone tool, which is pretty standard for me for this kind of job, is that I take the medium soft clone. I'm going to take I hold down the shift key now and zoom in. The trick is to take a stamp or clone next to the part that you're gonna clone. I like the tapping technique. Some people like to paint with the clone tool, but that works of course, but I think it's to me it's better to use the more of the tab technique, because I can go more in details. Sometimes I do a combination of the both of course. I'm going to show you how I do this, but I'm not going to show you the whole process because this can take some time and it's going to be a long webinar. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to stop filming this and just finish it off, and then I'll come back to you and you'll see the result of removing stains. But you get a hang of it, of course, now looking at me doing this, on how I do this. So soon I'll be back and I'll show you what we will do next. And now we're back again. Now you can see here on the t-shirt how I've removed basically all the stains I have from water on the t-shirt. I removed things on the collar and basically all over the t-shirt. And to just quickly show you the difference from how it looked when I started and how it looked now. So if I just remove this out of the screen for a moment and just activate and deactivate this duplicated object, and now let's move on and I'll show you a couple of other things, but this basically show you how easy it is to use the clone tool to remove stains on a t-shirt. Now I want to show you how we can remove hair strings on the forehead and remove hair pointing in all types of directions on the side of the hair, and also how we could remove parts of the hair sticking out here, so we get a clean, nice shape. So what we're going to do is I'm creating a new object. I'm going to call that hair strings, and I'm going to use the clone tool. And this is very easy to use the clone tool because the background is pretty even, as you can see, so it will be very easy for us to start cloning away things that we don't want to have in the picture. And I'm using a solid nib for the hair on this side here because I don't want to blend the hair strings on this side here of the head. Whereas I might use a softer or even another kind of brush to fix the hair strings on the forehead that I'm going to show you a little bit later. So we're just going to remove this here, and as you can see, it goes very quickly to do this. Still have to be careful so I don't remove parts of the ear or anything else. And then we see here, I think we can remove here as well. You see there's a shadow here. I'm going to leave that shadow as it is because it's the shadow of the head, of course, and it also gives shadows of hair that I'm actually not removing. So it could look odd for the one who looked close on a photo. So we don't want to make classic mistakes that looks odd. And here I'm going to use I'm going to reduce the size of this one here, the nib, and then I'm going to use a softer nib, and then go over here, just to take a little bit here, and then I'm going to change the direction of the nib and work my way up the forehead. So I'm actually using my tapping technique in combo with painting, so it goes a little bit quicker. I try, as you can see, I'm changing the direction of the nibs so they follow the shape of the underlying hair, so that we really get a proper cloning. Otherwise it might suddenly look very odd with different dots all over the place and make it even more work to remove things. We have to start repairing all the time. So so this is, as you can see, I can do a lot of detail work on this picture. I'm going to remove quite a bit, as you see, but I'm not going to remove everything because I want to show you many things during this webinar. This is just one of them. So what you're now seeing is that I've used a solid nib and a softer and more rugged nib. And here I'm going to change direction again so I can pick up on from the underlying here. Makes it better clone. Really vanished there. Now let's see if we can do something about it here as well. Just follow the shape of the hair that goes in this direction. And picking up what's going on in the picture, analyzing also as we go. As in the beginning in the webinar, I'm analyzing quickly, and then things happen. We're discovering new things as we work our way through this retouching work. And here we have some shadow, so we're just going to pick that up with the source of the clone and remove softly. Here's a little bit tricky because there's a lot of things happening here, but as you see, that was pretty easy as well. And then we're going to repair the ear, And here we're going to have to change the direction, because otherwise we're going to pick up the background. Made a little mistake here, as you can see, but it's we're not going to stay too long here. And yeah, now let's zoom out and see a little bit what's going on here, see if we have to do something else before we end this section and continue with the other stuff we're going to do. I think that, yes, I almost forgot. I was using a solid nib here, and I saw it, if you look closely here now, it's kind of a hard edge and doesn't look that nice. So what we do here is to use the liquid smear tool. And before we use that, we're going to make a copy of the underlying object. These two are used as a kind of an original. Yes, the main original, and this one is the one that I'm keeping as much as I can take copies of. I make a copy of that because I don't want to do anything on these if not necessary. So I just make a copy of it here. Let's see if we can fix that. So we made it pretty neat one copy there. And as you can see, I'm just soften and I'm trying to follow how the hair might lie, so it doesn't look too hard like that. We can take another direction. I went this direction at the beginning, and now I'm going this direction. So we just smooth things out. Something like that. Okay, I was a little bit too hard on that one. But you see what I mean. Let's make some extra work where it really is not needed right now. But if we use a blurry brush nib to raise a little bit, it starts to look a little bit like the other one there. So we'll just deselect that one, settle with that, and so now let's move over to the water stains here. And so what do we do again? Once again, using the freehand mask, and just select this area. Let's do that again. Freehand mask tool. I think I'm going to go down here a little bit. Like that. Control Shift C, Control V, and then use the touch-up brush. One of my favorites actually for these type of work. And now just tap along a little bit. I could zoom in on the picture, which is of course very good, but first I usually do a quick touch-up, seeing it from a distance, so to speak. Just get a feel for it, and then we zoom in using the scroll wheel on my mouse on the side here. Again, I'm not painting, so to speak, I'm just tapping. I'm having a solid nib, as you can see, either, so and I still like to have the texture intact. I don't want to smooth things out like some people do for fashion photography, and smooth faces out. But I'm not a photo or catwalk model, am I? So basically what I'm doing is just to tap along all the way here. if it would look a little bit too smooth, we can just change the opacity, the transparency of this object, and see if we can get more texture, if that is needed, so to speak. It depends on how you work and what kind of picture you have in front of you. But this one will work quite okay as it is here now. Just tap along a little bit more, so they're all small spots that makes the most reflections. They kind of stand out. Bugs me. So you can be quick. I just like to take some extra time on this one. And then also what I'm doing here is to remove these spots here. I had been in the garden, by the way, and out biking, and so felt very worn out when I came home. But it was a good day to take the photos to use for this webinar, I think. So I'm also going to remove this hair here in the middle, the eyebrow, in just a little bit. But that, we deselect that one, and I think that looks quite okay. We see also, but because I removed the selection, but still working on the same object here, and I know the selection went down here now. At this time, I'm not going to go too far down here, but just take a little bit here. It gives me a better view on how I want this. We don't have to take away all the reflections, but it's just the water stains. And then we name that one water stain. No, water. And then click Ctrl S. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit here, and now I'm going to select various parts, a big chunk of the face before we move on, and select that one. Ctrl-Shift-C, Ctrl-V, and stay on this. We're going to use a combination of touch-up and clone tool to remove various spots in this image. So start here. Oh, sorry, that was the clone tool. So we touch up that a little bit. My philosophy about this image, as I believe I said in the beginning, was not to alter myself too much, but touch up the whole thing, making me looking less tired as I was when I was taking the photograph. So that object is there, so we're going to collapse that so we see more of the screen. So as I said, I'm starting off with the touch-up and then moving on with the clone tool. You could say I could use the clone tool for everything here, but the thing is, I think I can make more quick movements on the face doing it this way than when I had the clone tool. Take away that. Actually shaved myself, but that's not a pimple or whatever it's called now again in English. It's actually I shaved and it started to bleed. So we're gonna remove that too. Now it's gonna just touch up. We don't have to take away. I don't want to take away too much of the wrinkles because I have wrinkles. There are not many of them, but I still do have some. But removing just so I get to look more alive, because I was really tired before I took this photo. don't want to take too much of the spots here, but actually I can, but then I'm gonna show you how we're gonna later on. I'm gonna show you how we remove these loose bags, which is it's a good thing to know. There are different ways to do that too, and I'm gonna show you one way of doing it. But before we do that, we're just gonna touch up a little bit here and there, and see how this works out. It's going to be nice to see how the end result of this image, from looking tired and gray, a bit more alive. I actually have that one there. It's actually an actual mark that I have there on my eye. We'll take away that just for today. A little bit, excuse me, a little bit of it. Touch up that too here. As you can see, I go back and forth. It's like when I'm doing an oil painting. I never paint one area only. I paint on various places, and that kind of builds up the whole painting. And the same works for this one. When I remove here, I see what I have to do here, and so on. So now I shifted, as you might have seen there, to the clone tool, and now we're going to remove the scar from the shaving tool this morning. And now that's gone. Let's move here. Actually, yeah, this might have been an old scar too, because I usually don't get so many scars when I'm shaving, but it was that kind of week. I just got a lot of scars, and man, have I worked this week, I tell you. So let's see how it looks like. Oh yeah, we're gonna zoom in here and remove the hair here in the middle. Just gonna shift key, so that's get smaller. Actually, even way smaller, because I don't wanna grab too much of the things next to it. Actually, see that? Maybe we can take that. As you can see, it's the clone tool I'm using now, and not the touch up. So we're just gonna. The hairstring in the middle is probably worst, because it's like a flashlight when it's dark in the middle here. But we basically remove that now. Just gonna remove that here a little bit more. So we. And let's remove this one too. You can also work on the eyes here. Oh, sorry. Take this hair that I noticed was here. Eyebrows. Now I'm doing a combination, which I usually don't like to do. Let's see, painting and tapping. I usually feel that tapping is more my style than brushing away. So there's so much light on that one, so remove that too, because that's also, as you can see, remove that. These small spots could be quite the flashlights. So you see how easy it is to just remove things that you don't want there. This could actually be still there. We just take it just for the key, just because we can. Let's see if we can zoom in, and we see here from the camera. Sometimes that happens. I don't know why. It's a Nikon camera. The DSLR is really good. This was originally a raw image actually that I made into JPEG and then a Corel PHOTO-PAINT image. And I made it a JPEG very quickly so it didn't go up in size with this tutorial. No need to use it raw for this one in this tutorial. But for whatever reason, if anyone knows why these went up here, sometimes it does. And I have no clue why. They look mysterious to me. Just like that. Don't have to put too much time to that one. And then we'll remove some of these parts. Not too much, because something's going to happen when I'm doing the loose back work, and we don't want to take away too much reflection because it's part of making the picture. Wait, sorry. Picture to look alive. So as you see, this does take a little bit of time when you pick like me, like that, and do it a little bit quicker here now. Don't have to take too much time on that one because I'm going to show you something really nice later on. God, I'm tired in those eyes. Let's see, that's pretty neat, isn't it? Let's remove a little bit more of this one here. That's okay for now. And let's see here now. Yeah, so we're going to deselect that one and we're going to name it face spots. And now let's move over to the eyes. To fix the eyes is quite easy. What we're going to do is to make the eye white more white and the blue have more contrast. So we start with the mask tool on one of the eye white here. Select that one here. Hold down the shift key and move over to the other eye, which means you will be able to select a second mask. And then Control Shift copy and then Control V to paste as always. Call that eye white. And now we're going down here and it's called lens object. So we create a new lens and we choose contrast enhancement. What this is lens object is something I use quite extensively, and it's undestructible objects. So there's a lot of image adjustment tools here that you usually find here in the image and adjust menu, but I use the undestructed one here. So to get the eyes more wide, to go back to that one, is to increase a little bit here. I can do quite a lot there, just so you see that something is happening. That's quite frantic, and this is not what we want. We want something more normal. So let's wind up somewhere here maybe, and click OK. Now click over here, activate and deactivate. You'll see that they're more wide. So be careful here, so you don't get frantic eyes. And now we go over to use the ellipse mask tool, like that. Hold down the Shift key. Do the same one here. Make Control Shift and paste that on top of that one here. Now we're going to go to the Effect tool and choose Contrast, Increase Contrast. And with that tool, just press down here and increase the contrast. Do the same here with this one here. And if we now zoom out, you're going to see how the eyes actually almost look frantic, and we have contrast in our eyes. So the eyes is actually a little bit too frantic for my taste, so I'm gonna take that down just a notch. That's actually enough for me. If you want more, please add more. So the white eyes are fixed, the contrast in the rest of the eyes. I still see that we have some things that going on here that I want to fix. I want to fix this area here in the middle of the eye, and a couple of wrinkles here before we move on. And using the freehand mask and the clone tool is going to fix that in a jiffy. So I'll take a copy of that and paste it as we've done before. Use the clone tool and clone in. Like that. I think that will work. And then just smooth out this a little bit. And then we can take this one here. Very quickly. This is fixed, as you can see. So So now let's move over to what I want to show you, how to fix the loose bags. And there are various techniques for that. Let's start by making a selection under the eyes before I continue. When it comes to retouching the loose bags under the eye, I could use, for example, the dodge and burn tool. But what the dodge and burn tool would do is just fixing the light or the darkness, but it won't change any of the tones. And if I would use the clone tool, it would clone, but it would clone a type of the pores over here and replace it over here, and it's not necessarily going to look right, does it? Because the skin is different here from what it is here. Another way of doing it is to use the brush tool, and that's the one way I'm going to show you now. So what we're basically going to do is to take a sample color over here, for example, and use the paint tool and paint over the eyes, area of the eyes that we want to fix. Come up close here, cover that a little bit with the brush tool. And as you can see, I have a kind of a fluffy brush tool, or brush nib, I mean. So just cover that a little bit. And after that, we just use the opacity slider and make it a little bit more transparent, so the texture underneath the eye is still there. I'm going to deselect that one. And if we now activate and deactivate, we see that it makes a pretty good job on fixing the loose bags underneath. And of course we could work on that a little bit more, maybe erasing some parts over here and touch up that a little bit. But what you see is that it covers in a different way. And if I look closer here, for example, I see that the color that I just painted here, if I just use the eraser tool, I can just, with the same kind of nib that I painted, use that as a to erase a little bit. And then of course we have to make a new selection for this eye, because the color and the tone of the color here is different from the other side, so we can't use the same color. So we have to take the pick tool again and take a color we think would work well. Try with this one. Sometimes you find the right color right away, and sometimes you have to work a little bit more to find the color that you feel suit the job best. So do it like that. We do it the same way. Opacity slider. Remove the mask tool over there. And when we activate and deactivate, we see how it looks like. And then we zoom out. And if we look at it a little bit closer, and then we can actually group these two, so it's easier to activate and deactivate while we're looking. And now suddenly things are happening. And of course we can put a little bit more work on this one, but you basically get the idea how this is done. And if you look at it for a longer time, you see that that is a quite good result, isn't it? So that's one way of doing it. One thing that I see here now, of course, is what we added to simply come up with this nose tip here. Because we have a reflection there. I still need a reflection because it actually gives life to the pictures. We don't want to remove too much of that. But this one is a little bit too much in the face for my taste. So I just made a copy of that object, that area, and I'm going to use a clone tool for this one. And that's it. I mean, just to show you the difference here, sometimes the touch-up brush is really good, but if I would use a touch-up brush for this one here and just hold still, and that would be the effect for that one. So squeeze the eyes is still going to be quite a big reflection. So but we're going to use the clone tool again. We just take a sample there and we put it over there, and that's fine. Now I want to show you how we can lift up the eyelids so I don't look so tired and heavy over the eyes. And we have to be careful now because we're going to use the liquid smear again, a wonderful tool, but the detailing here is can make it so we lose more than we gain. So we'll zoom in a little bit more, and we'll make a selection once again, like that, go. And place myself over there. Copy and paste. And then use the liquid smear, and maybe I want to move in a little bit more even. And I want to follow this shape of the eyes. I don't want to change how I look, because if we make too much changes, the eye will, new shape of the eye will make me look different. Eyes are very, very important. And if you make drawings on paper with a pencil or painting, you know very much how important it is to catch the eyes. Catching the eyes when you're drawing is probably one of the most important things to do, actually. Now you saw how I just nudged and moved up the eye a little bit, so I'll make a quick change there, you see, and then I lifted it. So I'm just gonna make a little move up here. And why it's also very difficult, why we can lose more than we gain, is because we're moving around pixels. So if I would move up too much, it's gonna be looking more smudgy, and that's just gonna destroy, which is not what we want to do. So we just wanna change a little bit. So make a selection here as well. Select that one, Control Shift C, and then Control E2 to paste that one. And then we move in close again, too close, and then we just take the liquid smear again and try to follow, analyze, and try to see how much we can lift up here without damaging, just a little bit. But this is less than a millimeter almost. So and you see how I touched the eye here, how easy it is to change too much. Going to see how that looks also. That made me look a little bit more less tired, so to speak. So for example, if we now would deselect this one here and select both the objects and make a new group of them, it's easier to just double check here now. So look closely. There, up and down. And this little thing that we did is actually a big thing when you start looking at it. I actually think we could do more here, so we're just gonna move that a little bit. Let's see if we can, yeah, and before we end that, we're just gonna like that. Okay, now I'm actually stupid because I'm not starting to do too much. But you see how easy it is? But that's good. So if we zoom out even more, let's see how much fresher I look now. Good, isn't it? So liquid smear. So one thing I think it's important to do now is to do something about the skin tone here, or skin color, because I need some more color in this on this face. So I'm gonna make a selection of my face, the forehead up on here, and this is just to quickly show you how this could be done, and you could be more detailed here if you like, but what I want to show you is basically how this works. As I made copy and paste that selection, and then go down here again and take a new lens, non-destructive, and choose hue, saturation, and lightness. Just show you how different it could look in a face here. That's too much, isn't it? But if we go down here, somewhere here, maybe that's too much as well. Let's see if we can choose saturation plus 4. Maybe that could be okay. Maybe 3 even. See what happens. Click OK on that one, and then when we activate and deactivate, you see a change in color tones. So I think I look more fresh there, so to speak. That's one way of doing it, of course, and you can fiddle around with this one, see if you need more hues or saturation and so forth. But for this picture, I think this is quite enough, actually. So before we end this webinar, I want to put something here in the background. And to do that, I'm going to import an image, an old drawing that I made many years ago, and put that there. This picture, of course, would I go to print, is too small, but it doesn't matter because I'm just going to use it for this webinar, and it's online, so it doesn't matter. And by doing this way, I'll make a copy of this. I'll make a copy, that one, and then I'll make an easy selection. Take the brush tool. Sorry, the brush tool to go a bit closer, so we get a mask closer to the head there. And the whole thing is here, if I had more time, I would do this a little bit different, and I've written a tutorial about it when you mask around hair. It's quite good. But for this exercise, for this webinar, we'll keep it as it is. And because I copy this object over here, copy that again, go over to Edit, Paste into Selection, and there's our image. And I'll throw that other one because I only need one. I'm gonna drag the opacity a little bit. Or actually, we can wait a little bit with that one. And then I'll choose one here that I like. Like this one. And now drag the opacity quite a bit. Like that. And then I'll import a texture. Let's take this one here. Like that. Sorry, something happened there. Didn't work, so we'll do it again. Import. Like that. Place yourself there. And there you have the texture. No, sorry. And we'll move that up. And then we'll drag a little bit like that. Copy that. Turn off. Edit. Paste into selection. Now go to Adjust. Replace color. Black to white. As you have previously done that. So that was very easy. And see if we can tick OK there. And drag down the selection. The opacity. Just give it a feel. Drag it up there like that. Deselect. The last thing I want to do is to end this is to actually beef up the color a little bit, because I thought that was it needed some more color. And I just want to show you a before and after image. So, and just before we end this webinar, I'm just gonna select the drawing in the background and move that a little bit, because I like this contour here in the back, and then just move this little like that, and then I'm gonna write something that I think most of us can agree on, and that is that art truly rocks. And because it's art, we need something other than Arial, and I'm going to use a type font made by an American guy in the middle of America. I like a lot of his work. This is called American Captain. And see if I'll choose anyone. I think I choose that one. Yeah. And place it like that. And then I want to have it transparent, so I drag down the opacity a little bit. Like that. I don't want it to take up too much of attention right now. Click Save. And to show you the before and after, I'm going to tile horizontally, move the Object Manager docker out of the way, and here it is. Here's the before. This is the picture I started with, and this one is the one that I finished with. I hope you see any improvement, and hopefully I look better than I did in the beginning of this one. I hope you enjoyed the webinar. I truly did, and I hope you learned some tricks. My name is Stefan Lindblad, and hope you have a nice day. Thank you.